morning, everybody. It is me, Pastor Tanya, and you have joined Worship in Wellness. I hope you know what we do. This is Monday night. This is what we do on Monday evenings. This is a time where we have the opportunity to come together, regroup, and have some real good discussions, right? We get the word for those that are attend their own personal church houses on Sunday. We get the word and we feed on that. But here on Monday, we talk a little bit more in depth with some of the things that we deal with on our day-to-day life. Right. So, it is our desire when you join Worship and Wellness is that we can worship well. But part of that is recognizing some of the challenges and the barriers that come with everyday living. Right. So this month we have been talking about a virtual vision board. We're still in the month of January, and what happens in January, oftentimes people are talking about my New Year's resolution, or, I'm doing these vision boards for what is going to happen for me in the year 2023. Oh, that's a t-shirt. What's going to happen for me in 2023? What's happening for me? I know I had bars like that. I know y'all didn't know I had bars. Anyway, so my point is we're always talking about what we're going to do, but we don't always talk about the steps, right? We get real hyped in January. February, come March, it's looking a little bleak. Come June, we done forgot about that board, and come December, the board might come back out, but usually we don't even know where it's at. So I'm just saying, let us have this conversation. And one of the things that we put on this vision board is education. Right? Why do we put education? Well, I hear a lot of different reasons. I have people that have shared that they would love to go back to school, but they feel they're too old. They would love to go back to school, but they don't have the funds to do it. Maybe I was in school and I stopped. I'm tired. I don't want to finish. I just don't have what it takes. Listen, if you're somebody that you feel like, well, I'm not in school and I'm not trying to go to school, I encourage you to stay, because this information is not only for you, but for somebody that you're connected to. So again, if you're watching, remember, sharing is caring. Hey, Jackie Moore, thank you so much. Yes, it is great to be alive and well. You ain't lying on that one, Jackie. And it's great that I'm happy that you're alive and well. So I am excited. If you are watching us, please tag in. Say who you are. Let me know who's here. And then also, I want you to stay around, because I have some amazing guests with me today that we're going to dialogue about this topic. Not only education, not only the secular education, but also from a spiritual perspective, right? There are so many areas where you can learn more about God. We talk about, I want more of God. I want to be in depth. But what are we really putting ourselves in a position to be educated on what the word says, or what God says about us? So we're going to talk about this. This is going to be good. It's going to be good. Okay. So I am getting ready to bring in my guests. I'm going to start with none other than Jordan Green Ellis. And I am bringing him on right now, and we'll talk a little bit about who he is and what he does. Hey, Pastor Ellis, how are you?
I'm doing extremely well. Happy New Year to everyone that's passing through, that's joining in with us tonight.
Yes.
I'm honored to be here.
I still can't believe we're in a whole nother year.
It's crazy. Right? And you know what? We have that same feeling every single year. Like
every year, we say every year. I can't believe it's a new year. That what it's going to be at the end of an old year. It just comes with the territory.
Yeah.
Well, I am glad that you have been able to join us. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do before we bring in our next guest.
Absolutely. Well, my name is Jordan Green Ellis. I'm an award-winning inspirational speaker, educational consultant, and author. And the name of my book is called Caps and Gowns, All Smiles, No Frowns, The Keys to Earning a Debt-Free Degree. And prior to my journey in entrepreneurship as a full-time entrepreneur, as a speaker, educational consultant, my background was in education, particularly K-12 as a teacher and higher ed. And so I use the information in my experience in the realm of education to help students on a global level, particularly in preparation for college and beyond, beating the student loan debt trap, decreasing and eliminating student loans, because unfortunately at this time, there are some powers that be that are holding up all of the promises that have been made. But we need not have to wait for those things if we prepare well. and we'll definitely be talking about a little bit of those things tonight. So again, that's me.
That's so good.
Yeah.
You know, as you spoke, I heard, you know, as you gave a little bit of who you were, you know, I admonish it because you hear the clarity of this is who I am, what I have
Yeah.
accomplished, and what I bring to the table.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks volumes, because a lot of times, here's a little tidbit of the education. Sometimes we don't feel that we are credible, even
Yeah.
though we have stuff to offer. And
Yeah.
so being able to maybe take a moment and write down who you are, what
Yeah.
you do, and what you bring to the table can also change the mindset of accomplishing and reaching some of the goals. So
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I love that. And it made
Yeah.
me think, I'm sorry if I could just jump in real quick before we get
Yeah.
to it. If you know what you want, then you know what you don't want. So you
Yeah.
won't waste
Oh,
your
that's
time on the
good.
things that you don't want if you know what you
That's
want.
so good.
So
That's so
I love
good.
that.
And I think about,
Yeah.
that's good, because even in school that it happens, right? What's your
Mhm.
major? I don't know. You pick
Right.
a major, but it's not really what you want. And then sometimes we end up changing our major multiple times, and
Yeah.
then it's taking longer to access where we're trying to go. So yeah, that's really good. I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Well, listen, we're just getting started, y'all. So I have one more amazing guest. And that's none other than Dr. Kane, and I'm getting ready to bring her on right now. I got smart friends, y'all. I got smart friends. So hold on. Dr. Kane.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you. So good to be here.
Good evening. I'm so glad that you have joined us. How was your day today?
Oh, it was a busy day. It was a great day. It was a busy day. Had an opportunity to participate in a webinar workshop earlier today on empowering ourselves in 2023, and some reminders about the wonderful, wonderful accomplishments of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
Yeah.
Had a chance to pop in. My good friend, sister, Dr. Tashika Green was.
Oh, I love her.
Yes. And she gave us a word, y'all. You got to go back and find that one, because that was amazing. Amazing. So it's been a great day. I'm so glad to be here. And like Jordan said, Happy New Year to everyone. It's good to be here. Just a little bit about me, my background. I have been K-12 for 30 years. Done a lot of the jobs from teacher assistant to superintendent. And it served me well. Right now, I am a professor of practice and educational leadership for the University of Pennsylvania, #1 graduate school of education in the country, and working with aspiring leaders, sitting leaders, as they work on their master's degrees and their doctoral degrees, and doing some work on the side with the School District of Philadelphia, and just loving it, just loving life.
I love it. That is so wow. Like 30 years. I'm only 30 years. No, I'm just kidding. So
You as young as you
I actually
feel,
am
right?
only 30 years old. Like I turned 30 this year. So
oh my goodness.
Wow. That's so awesome. I love it. I love it.
That is wonderful.
But that's powerful. That longevity speaks volumes, right? Like it gives the credibility. So, you know, again, today we're talking about education, and we're talking about, you know, the idea of education. And so I'm going to just throw this out there. When you hear people talk about education, what comes to mind? What are some of, you know, when you hear some of the concepts of, I'd love to go, but I think I'm too old, I don't have the funds. And I know that's a Jordan area, or I was in it. I had a conversation with a young lady not too long ago, a very good friend of mine. And she was, I've been calling her doctor since, even before she really entered the school. Right. And I was like, hey, Dr. So-and-so, hey, Dr. So-and-so. So now she completed her master's, and I'm like, where we at, doctor? And she's like, I think I'm really kind of done with school. And I'm like, yeah, no. Is it because the mission and the assignment on your life has changed? Or is it because you just tired? Because it's okay to be tired, but it's not okay to change the mission because we're tired, right? And so, let's get into it. Thoughts around education. What does that mean? What does that look like? What comes to mind for you all?
If I may, I don't mind going first. The immediate thought was liberation.
Good.
And so we don't have enough time. But I'll say this particularly for the generation after me, right? I just told everybody I'm turning 30 this year, but I was raised by an older generation. I was raised by baby boomers. And so I didn't grow up like a lot of my peers and a lot of the generation behind me. And so there's this overwhelming narrative that is becoming more prevalent that kind of combats the idea that education is a viable option. That says that education is a waste of time, or here's how they say it's a scam.
You hear that a lot now. Yeah.
You know, it's not. And I understand why they say that. I understand why they say that. It's risky. You can get the degree and not get a job in your field. But everything is risky, right? When you understand that the system, and we don't have to get too deep into that, is quite literally based around education and how well you know, let me not say how well, but the degrees you obtain just by having a 4-year degree, a 2-year degree, you increase your earning potential over the course of your career by $1 million. That's statistically true. By the time you end working, if you don't have a degree or an official document that says you've been trained, whether it's a trade, whether it's a license, whether it's a 2 or 4 year degree, right? If you have some, I call it the college experience, right? Or the college equivalent. If you don't have that, you decrease your earning potential by $1 million over your work career. But nobody's telling you that. They're just saying, oh, well, you're going to rack up a bunch of debt. You might not get a job. Well, you can get a job that's going to give you health benefits, a salary. You'll have weeks to travel, and you don't have to do it for 40 years. You can have multiple careers, right? And so liberation is that, because there are a lot of folks who I know now that have chose either not to go to college or not to finish. And, you know, they're in a tougher spot than what they would have been had they simply just, you know, finished and gotten the piece of paper. So I say liberation as a starting point so that you can then live the dream that you've been dreaming since you were a little child. But it's the foundation. Yeah.
That's so good, Andrea.
Yeah, I want to jump in behind that too, Jordan. That is absolutely rich, and I agree with you 100%. I would add to that opportunity. Right. Yeah. I think education creates opportunities for people to do some of the things that Jordan just mentioned. Live your dream. Right. What is it that you want to do? And when I say opportunity, I'm also thinking about the fact that education doesn't always come through a college or a university. Education sometimes comes through some smaller type of organization. Sometimes it comes through some type of agency. Sometimes it's hands-on practice. Right. It's learning. Education is learning, and it's built to empower us so that we can get out there and do some of those things that we really want to do. You don't have to go rack up $150,000 worth of debt if your dream is to be an artist, if your dream is to be a plumber, if your desire is to work on cars, if your desire is to be a computer graphic designer or cosmetologist. You don't, you think about what you want to do and you make it work for you. And Jordan's got some awesome ideas about how to do it such that you aren't getting yourself into, all of those hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt. I sit here, a person who went a traditional route, right? I went to college, university, through the bachelor's and the master's and the doctoral degree. But I was in my 50s when I got my doctoral degree. So we don't have to take that excuse off the table that we are too old. It depends on what you want to do. I would encourage people to think about what's the end goal, right? What do I want to do with my life? What do I want to do once I embark on this journey, right, of educating myself in whatever fashion that might look, whatever that might look like. If it's university, if it is some other organization. Do you know that you can go to community college, or you could go to lots of public school districts for people who want to finish up if they didn't get their high school diploma? They can even connect you to do sort of dual degrees, so you can work on your high school diploma and a undergraduate or associate's degree. So there are so many different ways that we can really embark on this journey for education. But, for me, it was traditional. For somebody else, it might not be. And it doesn't have to be. It just depends on what your end goal is. What are you trying to do? What do you want to do? And whatever that thing is, please, 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 by all means, make it something that you really love, because you're going to spend a lot of time doing it. And for the dollars that you do have to spend, because nothing is free, you want it to be worth your while. And you're not going to be constantly saying, okay, what if I get this degree and don't get a job? Well, work on what you want to work on. Right. So that you're in that already. And it's not a big, huge change from what you really want to do. It is just feeding into what you want to do, preparing you for what you really want to do. So there's no harm, no foul. You're doing what you want to do. It's only empowering.
Yeah, I really, there's just so many different things that
we please. That's what we do. Look what we said. We're going to get it and spit it. That's what we're doing tonight, guys. We are getting the good information, and we're going to spit good information. So go ahead, Jordan.
Absolutely. I love this topic so much. And this is what I do every single day. So I encounter, I don't know what I want to do all the time, even with students that go in college. Well, I say, okay, well, you don't want to be hungry.
That part.
You want to be able to, most like every college student I talk, they want to have their own place. You want to do those things. So, you need money. Right. And so if you're not absolutely positively sure this is the thing that I'm going to commit the next 60 years of my life to, then you just start somewhere. Right. You start with having that financial stability. See, my journey to entrepreneurship, I've always inherently been an entrepreneur. Right. But I didn't just jump off a cliff one day. I worked up to it. I did it with wisdom. Right. And this is not to exalt me. This is the way that I would highly suggest many of my aspiring entrepreneurs, creatives, artists, whatever you fill in the blank. If you're not entirely sure, it's so much easier to figure out or be on that journey to figuring out what it is that you want to do while having food on your table. If you have to worry about both of them at the same time, something's going to give. Right. And so don't overcomplicate it. Right. The things that you do want. You want financial stability. Most people want generational wealth. Most people don't want to have to worry about if they open their refrigerator, something's going to be in there or not, if their lights are going to be on. So you work on the financial stability first, and then you work up to it. You probably haven't had enough experiences that have led you to the place that's like, oh, I want to make my mark here. So you got to increase your experiences. You got to be exposed to more things that are going to turn on some light bulbs and say, hey, this may be the place where I want to make my mark. For me, it was in college. I represented my institution as Mr. Coppin State University, and I was in a national competition, and I made it to the finals. And it was just like a moment where it was like, man, I think I need to be on stage. Like, I think I need to be speaking, And then it wasn't just I jumped off a cliff there. I worked up to it. I had mentors. I got coaches. It was a process. I've had multiple careers before I, jumped into entrepreneurship. And so it goes. This is what I was saying. It's another topic we can talk about. Is just being patient, right? Being patient while moving, because it is a process. You don't want to just do it impulsively, and like what was mentioned before, you do what works for you. But at the base of it, that's why I say education is liberation, because when you have the degree, it increases your earning potential. You don't necessarily have to get a job in your field. I'm not telling you not to, but you can get a job that's going to give you the stability so that you can then work on your craft.
That's so good. And, both of you said some or have repeated this concept that it's okay to change.
Yeah.
You do not have to be stuck. Like, sometimes people don't take that step because if I do, then that means I got to complete this. And ideally that's the goal. But if you start at the beginning with assessing where it is that you're trying to go, if you should need to change, it's okay, right? It's okay. You're in a better position to get in and change than to not make that step at all, right? And so I want to read the scripture, 2 Timothy 2:15. And, this is worship and wellness, where we believe in biblical principles, but with practical steps. So one of the things I want to make sure is that we leave them with some tangible, those that are watching, with some tangible steps, as well as good conversation. So 2 Timothy 2:15 says, Study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed, rightly dividing the truth. Thoughts. What comes to mind when you hear that scripture?
I think about the fact study, meaning whatever you're going to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Understand it, devote yourself to it, spend some time working on it, refining it, understanding what it's all about. And that also means what opportunities it can bring, not just for yourself, but what opportunities it might bring for your family, what opportunities it might bring for those who are close to you, what opportunities, since we're talking about, worship and wellness, what opportunities it might bring or open up for your church.
Absolutely.
Here we've got, both of you, all three of us on this virtual stage. And when we started doing what we were doing, we probably weren't thinking we were going to be sharing this, with our church and our church.
I wasn't.
Right.
Wasn't on my brain.
Exactly. But here it is. And praise be to God. Hopefully somebody is getting something from this. So it's still opportunity, not for us in this point, but for others. Right. So it just really opens up doors. But to me, that means refine that thing, understand what it is, and devote some time to perfecting it. Are you going to be perfect? No.
Right.
That's not about to happen, but you certainly can work on being the absolute best you can be in that thing.
I appreciate that. Yeah. That is really what the purpose of any form of getting educated, educating yourself, learning, taking it so that you can be better at whatever it is you're going to do. Hey, Taria Vernon, I'm so glad you're on this live tonight, as we talk about education. Those that are watching, I'm asking that if you can do two things for me. One, share. Why? Because sharing is caring. There is somebody that would need this information or need to hear this conversation to be empowered, to be empowered to go and do, right? Be empowered to go and do. And then also I'm going to ask that if you have any questions or anything that you want to ask the panel, please tag your question in as we're talking about education, talking about the barriers of education, talking about the barriers of funding. That if there's anything that you want to know or you want to inquire, please write it down and we will make sure that the panel can address it. I think when, I think about the scripture so often, we have a tendency to separate, I believe, the spiritual things and the natural things. And there is a level of separation, but then there's a level where it's not, right? When the scripture says, study to show thyself approved unto God, a workman that needeth not to be ashamed. In other words, when you study, you begin to obtain knowledge about whatever that is. Right? So if you're studying the word, you become much more knowledgeable about the word and who God is. If you're studying to get a degree, you become knowledgeable. Therefore, when you execute and you speak, you can do it with a level of assurity and assurance without feeling ashamed about not knowing. Right? So while this scripture then goes on to say rightly dividing the word of truth, I believe it still extends across the board. If you want to be a doctor, you have to study the information so that you're not just cutting up on people and just putting them together with some tape and bubble gum, right? Like we're not going to do that. We're not going to be educators and just do the bare minimum. We're going to understand not only what we do, but why we do what we do. Thoughts?
Yeah, I love that scripture. And while what was being shared, I thought that immediately that study is typically done in private, or at least for me, it's hard for me to study. I don't know, maybe it's just how my brain works. I can't hear two different sounds at the same time. Like if somebody's playing music and I'm playing, it doesn't work for me. When I say study is done in private, I think that alludes to the fact that there is a process that you'll go through in private long before anybody knows your name.
That's so good.
long before anybody knows your name. And I think that that's the part that many people struggle with. I can unequivocally say that I've been there as well.
Mm-hmm.
A few years ago, I was complaining to my wife about how busy I wasn't, about how I wanted my schedule to be more packed, how I wanted to be speaking and on the road and all this stuff. And now I hate traveling. I hate it. I hate it. I hate leaving. I like doing what I do. I like, going places, but I don't like getting there. Like, And my wife said something that comforted me, but sort of kind of like challenged me a bit. She said, Jordan, this is the least busy you'll ever be. This is the only time you're ever going to have this much time. And I was like, man, you're right. But it's taken a significant amount of time for me to have nice graphics and a nice website and all this. There were a lot of lessons that I had to learn, all of which is done in private. And you want to learn those lessons before you get in the public eye, because it'll hurt a little bit more, And so that study piece is done in private. You've got to definitely fall in love with the study, because exactly like what you said, when you get on stage, you'll have a level of comfort and assurity that wherever you go, whoever's in front of you, that you'll be able to deliver something that's going to be impactful and change their lives. And it doesn't necessarily have to be on a stage or something like what I do. It can be in any sphere, in the classroom, in the pulpit, for those that are here, whatever, whenever you get that opportunity, you'll be ready for it, right? Because when we do well in worldly things, for lack of a better term, it glorifies God. It makes people say, man, I wonder what's in Jordan that makes him so special. No, I'm not, right? But when we do good things in the body, it glorifies God in such a way that sometimes people in the pulpit can't convey. Right. And so it's important that like what we were saying, that study piece being done in private before you start putting yourself out there, fall in love with that process, because it's the only time it's ever going to be that way. Once it blows up, it ain't no going back.
That's so good. That's so good. And things that blow up in public is always a lot harder to navigate than when it blows up in private. Because when it's in private, it's just you and your close circle that knows. So now you're having that little hissy fit, or you having that moment of weakness, or that moment of lack of frustration or whatever. But when it happens in public, it's harder to go through anything publicly than it is in that private space. But I love what you said about fall in love with the study. It's kind of like fall in love with that process, because when the study is the process, right? It is the process to knowing. It's the process to becoming. It is the process to enduring, right? All of that is a part of the study, right? You referenced something, Jordan, when you talked about it took a minute, like you knew what you were studying regarding your business, but you still had to do a few things like the website and then this and that. All of that is a part of the study to get to where you're trying to go. But what happens when you're in it and you're ready to quit? You're in it and you're ready to quit. Dr. Kane, you went on, you said you was 50 when you went to get your doctorate. Like there's something that happened that got you to I got to get back in school and I got to accomplish this goal. But I'm sure somewhere between your yes and your thank God it's over, there I can only assume there was at least one time you was like, this is for the birds.
Oh, for sure.
I'm out.
Oh, for sure. And let me just say, I started twice, right? Okay. So I started my doctoral degree, I don't know, it was in the 90s, I think it was. No, it wasn't. It was the early 2000s. It was somewhere around 2004, 2005. And my kids were young, my oldest was just starting high school. My youngest was in middle school or getting ready to be in middle school. And, they were athletes and we were on this field and that field. And it was too much stuff going on, And so I started at Loyola, and I had to give that thing up because it just was not, it really, I mean, and realistically, it wasn't the right time in my family's life for me to do that. And we all are connected to people, whether you have children at home, you're connected to somebody. And for me, when I initially started, it just wasn't the right time. And so I had to say, this isn't working for my family right now. I gave that up. Then I was ready to start again. And then it was like, oh, my son is in college. I'm going to be in college. We can't do this. This is too much on the pocketbook, right? We're going to be eating rice for the rest of our lives. And so seriously, that was the conversation. And my son, he went to Hampton, graduated from Hampton. And he was like, Anj, my family calls me Anj. He was like, Anj, I'm coming home. And I'm like, oh, no, you not either. You're going to stay right there and you're going to do what you need to do. So it was a little bit of time. So it was some adjustments that needed to make. So when I was ready to start again, I was able to do that. And it was somewhere around 2008, 2009, something like that. And it took 5 years. So it's a commitment. It was absolutely a commitment because I was working full time. But those things we have to notice about ourselves. We have to say, okay, this is what I want to do, right? Go for it. If it's not the right time, you will know that, right? And if you have to take a step back, that doesn't mean that it's never going to happen. It means that you started at a time where it just wasn't the right time. So if this is really in you, if it's really what you want to do, you're going to do it. You just have to make sure that the timing is right, And when you talked about that scripture, study to show thyself approved, I start thinking about, okay, approved by whom? Right? Because if I'm going to work for man, I'm going to be on that treadmill for the rest of my life. And been there, done that, don't want to do it anymore. I have had to mature and I've had to learn that my work is about pleasing the Lord. And people will follow, people play into that because that's God's design. And when God designs something for us to do, then it's our job to show ourselves approved to him, to show that we have a commitment to what he has purposed our life to be. And that's when you make an impact. That's when the people fall in line. That's when what you want to do starts to make sense to you and to other people. That's when God can use you to encourage and inspire somebody else. I have a lot of people that are connected to me that I have mentored and that have mentored me, and we still are connected. Right? Because this is the work, this is the place, this is the purpose that God's laid out for my life. And when we talk about study to show thyself approved, in my brain, I'm saying approved by God, right? It took me some time to get to that place, but that's what I mean. Because that's what matters. And the people will fall in line here on this earth. That falls in line because if it's God's purpose, that's only going to happen. That's what's going to happen.
It's inevitable. And you're right. And that is the scripture, right? Approved unto God. There's a scripture that talks about that what we do, we should be doing unto God, even in education. If we are taking on the task of going through, getting a degree or getting a certification or getting whatever it is, everything that we do, we should be doing it unto God. That is where the approval is going to come from. And then everything else will fall into line. But timing is everything. Now, I do want to say we have to be careful because some of us will use that as an excuse. Oh, it's just not the right time. 5 years down the line. Did you start school yet? I'm trying. It's just not the right. Some of us will use that as an excuse. So I think you hit it when you said you got to know yourself, right? Know yourself, know what it is, know what it's going to take. Evaluate the connections that are there. Have those conversations with the people that are your supports in your life, because they'll be the one that they also know you. So they'll be like, you make an excuse, girl, go put in that good application. We're not hearing it. And others will say, no, you have to take into consideration you have a newborn and that's just not going to work. Right. And so I appreciate you saying that. Jordan, you look like you was going to say something.
I have so much to say, but I will temper my thoughts and say just two things. Time is nothing to God. Time is nothing to God. He created time.
Mm-hmm.
So he's outside of it. And so because he's outside of time, right? If we're walking in the spirit, we understand that timing is nothing to him.
Sure.
It don't mean anything. And so he's less interested in our timeline, right?
That's so good.
Psalm 139 is my favorite chapter in the entire Bible. Verse 16 is the reason why, because it says, it says, you saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. So that means he's already ordained times, seasons, everything. And if it's not working, it's because we're not in alignment with what he's already ordained. And so what I love about Dr. Kane's story is that she said she was trying to do it and it didn't work. That's how she recognized. The problem is that people get caught up in the fact that, oh, well, I think it's too much. You haven't even tried it yet. You haven't even taken a leap of faith yet. The Bible says that Abraham's actions made his faith complete. When he left,
it was what he did.
Yeah, it wasn't just, oh, I believe God. No, he tried. He tried, right? And so if you haven't tried, here's what you do. Practical solutions. Don't overthink it. You ask the one who created time, is this the right time? You say, God, is this the right time that I'm supposed to go? If you have peace, go. If it doesn't work out, he still controls time and he can still ordain that time later on. Let your actions make your faith complete. And I'll stop talking because I can't.
But you don't stop talking, because you're absolutely right, though, right?
Yeah.
Put it down, because it's not your time, but it is going to be your time. So you still have to come back and pick that thing up if you are to walk in your purpose.
Right? Absolutely. Yeah,
because what we do today is truly relative to where God is going to take us, right? Like where Jordan, you hit it when you said God ordained time, right? Like, so he doesn't operate in time. He is, we operate in time, right? The bottom line is that's why the scripture says the steps are ordered, right? ED past tense. So we're walking into what has already been done if we walk in the steps. So now my prayer, I used to say, Lord, order my steps. And no, that's so wrong. It's been ordered. I can't ask God to do something he already did. It's done. I'm the one that needs to get into what's already ordered. So now my prayer is, Lord, illuminate the steps that I'm supposed to step in. I'm just serious.
And he says, I'll be a lamp unto your feet.
And a light into your path. That's right.
Can you please, can you do a little bling? Oh, there it is. Let me put my right foot right there. Let me put my left foot over there. Because the truth of the matter is there is a destination that God so desires for us to get to.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot of times we prevent ourselves by setting ourselves up to believe what we choose to believe, or accept what we choose to accept, or choose not to believe and accept. Right. Even by the omission of action, we prevent ourselves. Right. Like whether you do it and try, or whether you choose, or whether you try and don't do, either way, we can put ourselves in a really bad bind because of, and now I want to tackle, here's a mindset thing, right? The fear of. Why? So I want to go into the boundaries. Why do you feel that I feel that some of the boundaries come because there's a fear of the unknown, fear of the failure, fear of all of these concepts. So when you are, both mentoring people or having conversations, how do you address that with them?
I think, well, when I left my job in the middle of a pandemic in October 2020, and first of all, I didn't tell anybody. I just left. I didn't tell nobody. Only my wife knew. Right. And I told my parents, like, maybe almost a year later. I told you, my parents are baby boomers, right? Work a job till you die. Go get that money.
It.
Yeah. And I loved how I was raised. I don't have no bit of pride in me. If I got to go flip some burgers or shovel some snow, I've done it. So I'm not just saying that to like show off. But getting back to the point, when I told my mom, she was like, man, you just keep going. You just keep getting after it. I'm like, I'm more afraid of not becoming who I believe God has called me to be than I am of messing up. And so when people ask me that, I think that communicates this anxiety about, what people think about them If anybody really knows me, I've had so many public failures, so many. So many. If anybody's really been following my journey, and when I say public failures, I don't mean like anything that's embarrassing or unbecoming, anything like that. It wasn't what the world would deem as a success. But when I think about those things, when I think about those things in private, every single moment of weakness has built a level of resilience in me that otherwise wouldn't have been made if I didn't.
Right. It was necessary. It was necessary to build it.
Yeah. And so for those of you that are afraid of the success, please understand that, like what we just talked about, God has already carved out your steps for you. You got to walk in them. And it's a disservice to who God has created you to be if you don't move in faith, right? And so we've got to step outside of our own viewpoint, right, and understand that this is a whole lot bigger than us, right? What God has called you to is for you, but it's not just for you. And it will be a blessing to the people who he's ordained you to touch. You just got to do it. It's not all in one day. It's a journey. So take that first step.
Yeah. And we know that the word says that God did not give us a spirit of fear. We know that. So when we get that, but it's a very human reaction, right? Yeah. So we have to pay attention to it. And we have to think about, okay, so why is this not settling well in my spirit? Why am I fearful? Am I not prepared? Do I not have a support network? Do I not know enough about what I'm trying to get into? So there's a reason, for that feeling, because it's not from God. So I'm not saying to go out here and try to do something that's not part of your purpose, and just be fearful, just like what I'm saying is the spirit doesn't come from the God. So try to dissect that thing and try to figure out where that's coming from and then build from there. Because, I rely so much on a scripture that is so simple. And when you are down and when you are unsure of things, this I know for a fact. The scripture says, I lie down and I sleep because God sustains me. So it's as simple as I go to sleep at night and he wakes me up in the morning because he got a job for me to do. Right. I have a purpose to fulfill, and I'm bringing some people right along with me. Right. So it's just simplicity out of something that could seem really, really complex. And Jordan, when you said public failures, I know that what you mean is lessons, right? Because nobody is successful with every single thing that they attempt to do. If they are, I would question why, right? Are you attempting to do what's good and right? Because oftentimes what's good and right is not always good to do. I'm going to tell you this Sunday when Apostle Coates, he was talking about, forgiveness and things like this, messed my head up so bad. I had to go. I called my cousin. I was like, okay, I told my sister on the telephone yesterday. He said, you say you forgiven somebody and you think are you okay seeing them in heaven? Oh, Lord, have mercy.
That was so good.
Oh, my goodness. Are you okay? Are you going to be okay seeing them in heaven? That gave me a whole new perspective. Okay, so now, Andrea, you got to go back, right? And you got to think about some things. Yeah. Yes, I've forgiven. And yes, I'm not only going to see this person and be okay, I'm going to embrace this person say, we are okay, right? So it takes us to a whole other level. And we got to get to that kind of a place. Sometimes, boom, we got to be smacked up against the head with it. But as it pertains, let me get back to what we're talking about. As it pertains to, because it's good. It's so good. And it relates to what we do each and every day. Absolutely. Are we walking in our purpose? Are we trusting in God? Are we embracing the people that are supposed to come along with us? Because we're not supposed to do this by ourselves.
And are we aware of the ones that we're carrying that we're supposed to let go?
That's the truth.
Because there's a component that many people feel like, well, if I'm going, like there's some people that if I'm going up, everybody's going up, but everybody can't go up. Yeah. When eagle takes flight, whatever's in it, if he has a snake in his mouth, that snake is not going to survive in certain altitudes because it's not designed to be in that altitude. Some of us, when we are going up, as we're elevating, as we're growing, as we're getting educated, as we're, becoming different people, because we're, making those changes that we need to make, we want to bring others with us, but they can't stand the altitude where we are. Mm-hmm. And so what happens is, because they are our comfort zone, we start to either dummy ourselves down or forget to continue to move forward and let them go and know that God has them just like God has us. And so we got to be careful to know those that we need to bring with us, and know those that we need to let go so that we can continue in the flight that God has for us. And the third piece I want to even add to that is knowing that there are people that are waiting on us after we've gotten the degree, after we've stepped into what God has for us, that needs what we have. Mm-hmm. So if you haven't even taken the opportunity to move forward in that means there could potentially be some blood on your hands that you could have to be accountable for, because you haven't met the person that you're supposed to see in 10 years down a path. Now, that doesn't mean, because like we said, Jordan, God is the orchestrator of time. So clearly things can be rerouted if we are willing to submit to that. James Henson said, the process. Yeah. That's a lot. Maria said that's a whole word right there.
Yeah, right. That is a whole word right there, because some people are weight, right? Some people are weight, and they that's what they do. They weigh you down. But for those who are waiting for us, and those who are supposed to come along with us, this is about growth. This is about everybody having an opportunity. This is about everybody walking in their purpose.
Absolutely.
And some of us just take a little bit longer to find our purpose than others. And to trust God and walk in that.
So I want to throw this to the team. And again, if you're just joining us, you have any questions, please tag any questions that you want to pose to the panel, and make sure that you're sharing, because sharing is caring. So now here you have, I'm a parent, right? My children are in school, but I haven't gotten the education that, maybe I wouldn't have needed at some point, or, feel in a particular way. But how do you, in part, because I do believe education, a lot of times children, they come from parents that did go to school, have a tendency to continue on that path. And then you have a lot of first generation college students, kids who go to college. I was the first to go to college from my family line, which ended up, interestingly enough, that led my mother to go, right? So I went, my sister then went, and she did the whole college experience. I did the community college path, and then I went to a local 4-year college thereafter. My sister did, she went away to college, and then my mom went, right? And so it led all three of us to find that path. But, you do have some parents that may have not gone and understand the importance of furthering education. And I'm not just talking about college, right? Because like you said, Andrea, it could be non-traditional schooling. It could be, because I want to get a degree or a certification, or I want to do hair, or I want to start my own salon, or I want to do my own auto shop. Or it could be, I do want to go and get my traditional 4-year, 4-year college. Thoughts to that parent that is working with their children, and how to impart the importance of moving forward.
Yeah, I definitely would love to jump in there, especially for like what we would call a non-traditional college student. I think that it is vital that if you sense the nudge to go back to school, that you go, especially if you are, and this is just the way that my mind works, and I know that everybody can relate. So I'm always going to use money as one of the pieces to draw, right? Because it is an exchange. When you go to school, it's an investment, right? We're not just going for the prestige of going, like college ain't that prestigious anymore. We're going to go get some money, right?
Right.
And so if that's your motivation, right, And maybe, let me not say that it's not prestigious. It's definitely prestigious, right? But what I'm saying, though, however, is that you can use college as a tool. And so if you're that non-traditional college student parent, you've got kids that are in that high school range, or even in college, and you sense that nudge to go, I would encourage you to go, okay? Don't worry about whatever shame people try to put on you, or like the unspoken narratives. None of that matters. Why? Because on your degree, all it says is the date that you graduated, not how long
That
it took.
part.
Did you hear what I said? I said it only says the date that you got the degree, not how long it took you to get it.
Exactly.
Ain't no shame.
There it
Because
is.
don't nobody know. Nobody knows. We don't know.
And don't nobody care. And it doesn't, and it also doesn't matter if you got all A's and all the rest of that. Don't nobody care about your GPA. They care about that you got your degree. That's
exactly
it. Or that you attained that certification, that you completed whatever it is that you set out to go. All the rest of that stuff does not matter.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna front, y'all. For those that are out there that struggle in school like I did, I'm glad about it. But I got it because the truth of the matter is I worked hard, but it was a struggle for me. It was a struggle. I was not necessarily an a collegiate brain. Like my brain is very smart, very bright, but it was not one for the books, right? And so, but I need to complete it, and I knew I needed to complete it to end up teaching on a community college level. So I never thought that, but do it. Your degree is yours. It is yours.
I want to say one more thing too, because that's the mindset side, right? But let me also give you the practical side, because some of you may have legitimate concerns about what Pastor Tanya just mentioned as far as your ability to retain information. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
When you go to college, okay, you have to pay a bill, okay? And when you pay the bill, you're not just paying to show up to class. You're paying for everything that goes on that campus.
That's so
and
good.
And there are resources on the campus that you pay for.
Yeah.
That will help you. Oh, no, wait, no. It's their responsibility to help you accomplish whatever you're struggling with. I don't know an institution that doesn't have a reading lab, a math lab, some sort of system to where you can find a tutor. You pay for it. Utilize the services. If I told you I'm the financial aid guy, right? I worked in the financial aid industry and for a few years, and that's where I got the information for the book. If you paying a college bill, you can get a receipt. You can get a breakdown of your bill. And on it, you'll see every single thing that you're paying for. The resources are there, and you don't have to look far. They have to serve you. They have to serve you. This ain't public school. It's not high school. They have to serve you. And so if you have that apprehension, well, no. Your professor has office hours that are dedicated to answering any questions that you couldn't get answered while you were in the class. They have, depending on what type of course you're taking, they may have a graduate assistant or student aide that may be equipped to help you. Listen, the resources are there. The system is set up for the people with the qualifications. When I say qualifications, I do not only mean 2- and 4-year degrees. I mean certificates. I mean licenses. The college, you have to have something that says you're approved. Study to show thyself approved. You got to have something that says it, whatever it is, right? And the system is set up for those who have those credentials. And so when you go, it's set up for you to get the credential. And so they want you to be successful there. I'm saying a whole bunch, but I want you to understand.
No, this is so good.
Thank you. Don't be discouraged before you get there. This is what we talked about before. You already psyching yourself out, not knowing that you're about to walk through this door and every single need that you have is going to be met.
That's so good.
So just
go. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm done.
I was going to say, and to add to that, as we talk to parents who feel like they've been called in and maybe they want to go back to school or take some courses or get a certification or whatever, if your children are watching you, right? And when they see you struggle through something and keep trying, that's a lesson for them, you know, because everything doesn't come easy. So you're not only doing something, as we started out this conversation, this is not just for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is for your family. This is teaching your children a lesson about how to stick to something, how to focus, sometimes there are sacrifices that need to be made. But if this is what you're supposed to be doing, if this is what your calling is, then this is the lesson for your children. We're recreating, these cycles of stick to it. You can do it. Be determined, walk in your purpose. This is a lesson for your children.
Absolutely.
Right. And they need it. They need it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that right there speaks volumes, right? Our children more times learn by what they see than by what we say. Right. They learn, we teach them by what we do, not solely by what we say. And so we're teaching endurance. We're teaching having that stick to itiveness. We're teaching how to overcome challenge. We're teaching how to be challenged. We're teaching them how, when you're challenged and you fall, like all of that is necessary. And then at the same token, being open to have that conversation. If you're a parent and you have children getting ready to go to college, and there is that you don't have to stigmatize your own self because you've never been to college. There are people like Jordan Green Ellis who has information. So one of the things, we're getting ready to come to an end. I know I want to leave room for some final thoughts, and I also want to leave room for some practical steps. So this is an opportunity, Jordan, if you can share just a few practical steps, right? Because a lot of times we say it, right? Just there are, and although you gave some really good examples, but sometimes we say general things like use the resources, there's money out there to be found, just search the internet. We give people that, but it's still not enough. I'm one of those people. No, I need more. Give me specific, where I'm supposed to go, what's the website, who I need to ask, what I need to do, right? So people need something that's much more tangible. So if you can provide any resources that you think would be helpful for those that are seeking either to go to school, go back to school, continue in school, what to do when they're in school, anything on that level, that would be great. And then any final thoughts. And then Dr. Kane, I'm going to ask you to follow through right behind that.
Got it. I'll speak to two groups. I will to the traditional college student first, or the parents of the traditional college students, and that is those who are in high school and they know that they want to go to a four-year university right out of high school. Time is your most valuable asset, especially for those that don't know. Maybe you just jumped on. My entire platform as it pertains to being an educational consultant is beating the debt trap, decreasing and eliminating student loan usage. I could run my resume in regards to all the students that I've helped. I have students that are literally getting paid to go to school with no debt. And so understand that it's not a question of whether or not it can be done at this point. The question is, how do we get it done? How do you get it done is you utilize time first and foremost. Punctuality is paramount, because especially with the things as far as registration and applying for scholarships and deadlines are important. Okay. And the more you wait, you increase your probability to borrow. As it pertains to registering for classes, when you wait longer, you miss the better classes or the ones that are more appropriate for your schedule. So time is a valuable asset. Secondly, getting the right information. We talked about the places where we get information. I will say that you need to have a source from where you draw your information from. And let me be clear, I work with institutions around the country. This is just the truth of the matter. And again, I've worked in the financial aid industry. You're probably not going to get the information that you want directly from the office in which the school that you're trying to go to. You've got to find it on your own. So there are people like me who have dedicated their time and made resources like my book, which you can find on Amazon. It's Caps and Gowns, All Smiles, No Frowns, The Keys to Earning a Debt-Free Degree. That's going to give you the in-depth, step-by-step okay, this is how I do my FAFSA. This is when I need to do my FAFSA, right? And that's a whole separate conversation. All the things financial. You want somebody that cares about your vision as much as you care about your vision, right? And then from there, after we've got the time thing, we've got somebody to give us the right information. This is the most important part. You've got to implement it. Like, you've got to do it. It's not enough just to know that it can get done. You've got to go get it done. Like what we talked about earlier, James 2:22, I think it is. The Bible says that Abraham's actions made his faith complete. And so you've got the faith. You believe that God can do it. You believe that you can go to college and get that degree. Now you've got to start walking. Now you've got to leave your home country. You've got to go to the land that God has promised you. And it's on a college campus, and you can do it. It may not be easy. In fact, I'll say it won't be easy, but it doesn't mean that it can't be done. So go ahead and get it done. Those resources, like my book, there are many, 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 many websites out here that will allow you to apply for scholarships. I'll just give you a few off the top of my head. One is scholarships.com. Another is called Scholly, SCHOLLY. It's an app, I believe it is. It is a paid, they have a paid feature, but I do think that there is a free version of it as well. My program, if you look over my right shoulder, Caps and Gowns University, we are actually about to relaunch an online course that's going to give you that step-by-step, and you'll get scholarships sent to you every single month. That's going to be just for you, that you can apply to as well. There are hundreds of millions of dollars in scholarship funds that go unaccounted for every single year, and it's because people don't apply. So that's that implementation piece. Scholly.com, scholarship.com, Caps and Gowns University, which is my private mentoring program that I help students decrease and eliminate student loan debt. You can learn more information about that at my website, jordangreenellis.com. And if you have any questions, please feel free to jump in the chat now or put them in the comment section. I would love to fill your questions, because again, the financial aid piece, it's not a cookie cutter thing. It's sometimes specific to a family or an individual, but please understand this. I know I just gave you a whole bunch of different information. Know that above all this, you can do it. Like, it can actually get done. And so you've got to believe in yourself first. You've got wings, so it's now time to fly. I think those are my closing remarks. I'm good to go. Unless anybody has any questions.
I was trying to write everything you were saying so fast.
I'll say it again. I'm sorry.
The people gonna think I'm not educated. I was like SCHELLO. What you said? Caps and Gowns, smiles, no problem. Baby, you better come on with the resources. This is what I'm talking about. I love it. Okay, but I need you to just say it slow for us over the 50 plus people. Thank you so kindly.
Got it. So Caps and Gowns, all smiles, no frowns. The keys to earning a debt-free degree. So that's good. Another place where you can get really the mentoring piece, right? As a matter of fact, James Henson that was just on, that's one of the families that I helped. They have a student, they have a son. Their oldest is a freshman at Salisbury University, and he earned, I want to say, like over $12,000 or something like that in scholarships. Nice. He decreased his student loan usage by like 65%.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
And we have a plan to do it. The point is, nobody's going to tell you that when you get to a college campus. They're going to say, this is what you got. Go ahead, accept this. Boom, 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 boom. And they're going to get you out the office. You need somebody that loves you. Okay. So another resource is Caps and Gowns University. You can learn more information about that at my website, jordangreenellis.com. There's a tab that says Caps and Gowns. But as far as if you're ready to, you've got enough drive and motivation, you don't need no extra help, scholarships.com.
Hold on, I'm still typing Green Ellis.
And for those that again, if I'm going too fast, I apologize. I have that tendency. It's the name right here. It's spelled phonetically.
I got it that time. Hold on. So that's
got it.
This Caps and Gowns University, jordangreenellis.com. That is the mentoring program where you can get more one-on-one. And then you said Scholly, right?
Yep, Scholly. It's an app. It's an application for iPhone users and Android users. It's a Black-owned business. I believe the guy's name is Christopher Gray. It's out of Philadelphia. And he has a similar story to many of us. Came from, I believe a single parent background. And he obtained scholarships and to go to school, and his degree was fully funded.
Yeah.
And he created an app where he helped students just like him students just like us, right? Find money to go to school. So awesome. Scholly is a good app. Another one that just came to mind is called Unigo, unigo.com, UNIGO. bold.com. That's another site that you can go to. Another one is called bold, bold.org, bold.org. And there are many places just like that. These are just the ones that are coming to the top of my head. But again, this is why Caps and Gowns is important, because it's not enough just to know, you need strategy going through it. And so we definitely break down that strategy in Caps and Gowns University, and we send you scholarships as well that you can apply to. There hasn't been a person in my program that's actually followed the steps that hasn't been successful to a degree. Like I've said, we have students who are quite literally getting paid in scholarships and grants to go to school.
That's so good.
And so it's definitely possible. It's definitely possible for sure.
Before I pulled on Dr. Kane real quick, and you may have said it and I may have missed it. I know that the scholarships, the students that you are working with who obtain scholarships, is it for primarily the traditional, or is it or are there scholarships for non-traditional students?
That's a great question. Yes, that's a great question. Can I just go on a tangent just for 30 seconds? There is this overwhelming stigma about who can qualify for a scholarship. Okay. You don't need to be no type of special. Can I speak freely? Can I say like
please that? Do. Please freely.
You don't have to be special. All you have to do is be alive. I'm so serious. There are scholarships for everybody, for the intellectual and for the intellectually challenged, if you will.
That's so good.
For those that don't get the 4.0.
Yeah.
I've seen scholarships for everything. There are many scholarships that have nothing to do with academics.
That's so good. It's true.
Nothing. And they don't require you to write an essay.
That's so good.
You don't have to be smart, super talented. You don't have to play an instrument. You don't have to have a 4.0, graduate magna cum laude. None of that. You just got to find the one that works for you. And again, I keep talking about Caps and Gowns. It's so important because, again, you're going to need somebody that's going to tell you the real, right?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
We go over strategy so that you don't have to write a brand new essay every single time.
Right.
We go over strategy so that when you come across a scholarship that says, oh, I need you to record a 2-minute video, that you're not shaking.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? That you're not uncomfortable. And so, you know, if you're comfortable advocating for yourself, have at it. Here's another thing that I'll say, because again, it's not, I want to give practical. And this is something that I teach in Caps and Gowns University. You want to, how I said, time is really important, right? In your schedule, like how you go for the traditional, if you go to school from 8 to 3, or for the non-traditional, you go to work from 9 to 5, from 5 to 5:30, or from 3 to 3:30. For that traditional student, I want you to put in your schedule time every single week to apply for scholarships. Like, it needs to be a part of your schedule. It's not something that you can just do off of a whim. It's never going to happen. You got to put it in your schedule. You got to chop at it every single, however often you do it. Have a number that you hit, and then you're going to look up in 3 months, in 4 months, and you're going to have $10,000 in scholarships.
That's so good.
Yeah, and your room and board to be taken care of. There's so many things. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, that's so good. No, don't apologize. This is really good. Like I said, you know, having biblical principles without the practical steps is just a dream, right?
Yeah.
We can believe until we're blue in the face. The word says faith without works is dead. That means it's two-part. You got to believe and you got to do. And so doing requires us to know what to do. And that is where the practical piece comes in. So I appreciate you, because there are people that are watching now, but there are people that are going to watch later. And when they watch it later, they have something tangible to walk away. And that is, anytime that I'm doing worship and wellness, that is the biggest piece for me. I want us to walk away. We can say, you know, we want to win, but we need to know what we need to do in order to win.
Yeah.
Dr. King.
Yeah.
Look, let me tell you what. I say ditto. Right? I say Jordan Green Ellis has given us so many nuggets, so much wonderful and valuable information that I don't think I can add anything to it, particularly for, you know, those who are in high school or those who are looking to go the traditional route. What I can say is that we have to, particularly for those who may already have graduated from high school, those maybe adults who have a family and are thinking about how am I going to get into this and how am I going to make this work? I would say, one, get your support system in order before you embark on this journey. And it really doesn't make a difference if you're going to take a single course for some type of certification, whatever it is that you're going to do, get your support system in order, because and get your mindset straight, because you're going to miss out on some things, with your family, and your family is going to miss you being at some things, but they're going to understand why. And if you have that support system, you really can not just rely on the same person, but multiple people to support you and to support your loved ones as you embark on this journey. But I also want to say something that hasn't been said so far tonight, and that is, don't sleep on the online programs, particularly if you are a working adult. I'll tell you, I did my entire doctoral degree, 5 years, online. My university is in Arizona. I live in Maryland, and I could not, my job did not allow me to have a Monday, Wednesday class, or a Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday class, or whatever. My schedule didn't allow for that. What I did worked for me. I did an online program. I absolutely had face-to-face time with those who I needed to connect with. But it worked for me to work all weekend long, because the type of job that I had, I could not come home from work and start writing a paper. I came home from work and kept working. So if from Friday night to Sunday night, maybe I slept 2-3 hours, whatever, that's what worked for me. And I was able to get done what I needed to get done. I had a support system. I had people who encouraged me. But don't sleep on those online programs, because they very well may be the thing that allow you to get done what you want to get done on a schedule that's realistic for you. So don't sleep on that. So other than that,
wait. No, don't you dare go. No, don't go nowhere. Okay, we gotta get on. We gotta go. I just want to say thank you so much for bringing that to the forefront. Because I really did want you to speak also to some of our older and or adult learners, or those that maybe I've gotten my bachelor's, I've already gotten my master's, and I thought about going to get my doctorate, or I considered getting my doctorate, and what does that look like, because I either still have families, or maybe my family is, whatever it is. So thank you so much for speaking to that, because that is a piece that is relative, right? Like, there are online programs that you don't have to do with the traditional in the classroom sitting set. So Woo, so good. Yummy stuff. Thank you. I so appreciate you all. Listen, this has been another week of worship and wellness. All month we have been talking about virtual vision board. So if one of the things that you have been desiring, or one of the things that's your focus for 2023, I was spitting bars earlier, but y'all gotta, if you just came on, you gotta go back to the beginning and hear my little rappy rap. But if for 2023, education is one of your goals, there are 2 amazing resources here tonight. JordanGreenEllis.com. And Dr. Kane, if someone wanted to reach out to you with any further questions, is there a way that they could find you so that I can
Sure. Sure. I am Kane AM, like KANEAM at upenn.edu.
Well, let's see if I typed it right. Kane AM at upenn.edu. I promise y'all I'm not that slow. It's just a little hard doing both.
That's right. You got it.
Very good. So next week, we will be talking about, Jordan, I should have had you on next week. We're talking about entrepreneurship, right? Starting your own business, entrepreneurship, and what does that look like, and what does that mean? So, Jordan, have your peeps come join us next week as well. For those that have considered, I have a business, I want to start a business, I'm doing my business. What are the things that is needed to enhance my business, right? Anything business related, that is what we're going to talk about, entrepreneurship next week. And I do not want to be remiss to remind us all that on the 30th, the last Monday of this month, we are doing worship and wellness in person. I'm so excited because right before the pandemic, we started live. And then the pandemic happened after I was kicking and screaming about this worship. And what am I going to do? Worship? What I'm supposed to do? What I'm supposed to do? So then the Lord showed me what I was supposed to do. And then the pandemic happened. I was like, you can give me the heads up like prior to that was going to be a shift. So now I'm kicking and screaming again about what I'm supposed to do. And so then the Lord gave, well, it really wasn't called worship and wellness at the time. Honestly, it was just the wellness ministry. And the Lord said, worship in wellness, because a lot of us say we lift our hands and we worship the Lord, but we're not well. We're doing it in pieces, right? We may be good in this area, but we're not good in this area. We're not good in this area. So we need to talk about these real things, right? And so worship and wellness was born, but the whole time from the pandemic until now, we haven't been live again, with the exception of our wellness week. We're going live 2 more weeks, and we will actually be doing a vision board. We will physically do vision board. So there will be boards, there will be magazines. We're going to laugh. We're going to play music. We're going to create something tangible, because there is something that happens when we put it to paper, that we can physically look at it and go back to it and be reminded, if you don't throw it up under your bed or in the closet somewhere, where we are and where we need to go to accomplish that goal. So I am asking that you join us on the 30th. If you plan on being there, just shoot me a little message. I would love to attend, just so that we can make sure we have boards for everybody that will be in attendance. Bring a friend. Let's have fun with it, but let's be our own accountability partners for where God desires for us to be this physical calendar year. I love everybody. This has been Worship and Wellness, where we believe in biblical principles with practical steps. Good night, everyone. Any questions, please feel free to tag me and I will get it to the right resources. God bless and good night, everyone.